The biggest, most noob mistake that most new PhDs actually make, and I think a lot of senior PhDs and senior professors end up doing this as well, is that as soon as there is a difficulty, as soon as somebody has questioned what you've done, you switch. You say, I am not good enough, and you switch to something else. And so, what ends up happening for almost everybody that does this is that they do something for 6 months, they switch to something else, and they don't get any traction at all. What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to deal with this? So, if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Massack. I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I deal with this all of the time. This is my life that I deal within the whole research area and building reciprocity to give back as much as I possibly can. But as well, this is my life. This is the story that I actually live in. And I face rejection. I face people telling me what I'm doing is stupid and what I'm doing is wrong and all of that stuff every single day. It's often, in fact, this week I had, I'm not going to give you the context because I don't think that is appropriate, but, somebody started laughing when I did something or said something. And I have to deal with that. And I have to figure out how to deal with that. So first of all, this is what I was thinking about, is that these moments when people tell you that you're doing something wrong or the data that you're looking for doesn't appear like you thought it should appear and it'd be all easy and presented, this is real life. This is what it actually means to be a human within the world of research. And you're going to bump into any number of different people and any number of moments where things just don't work out as planned. You might have to get a new job. You might do all sorts of different interesting and crazy things. And most people just give up when that happens. And they say, yeah, you know what, I'm not good enough. And they go and pursue something else. But you and I know that that is not necessarily always the best route. So this is what you do. All right. And hopefully this actually helps you in terms of figuring this out. So first of all, negative signals are not always the worst case thing. If you get multiple negative signals, right, like there is repeated for a long time, and I'm saying extended long time, that many people, not just in the same domain, but many people saying, man, you know what, that's not a great idea. Maybe you should think about switching completely. But instead of thinking of switching completely and going and doing something else, what I want you to do instead is just document everything. Write the damn stuff down and think about what they actually said, right? So if you're saying it in this kind of way, and somebody said, you know what, that's a little bit offensive, think about what they're actually saying. And think about their emotions, what they're feeling, and adjust, right? It doesn't have to be like you're looking at this thing and you're thinking, I got to throw everything out. No, like that's a real noob mistake. You look at that and you say, how can I use different language? What is the best way for me to communicate this that doesn't have a lot of that baggage that's associated with it? What is some data that I can look for that allows me to look at that has a slightly different take on what I'm actually doing and go and pursue those things? That's real world stuff, right? It doesn't mean that you scrap everything and you go do everything else. It's mind-boggling the number of times I actually see this. And I feel like if I'm participating in this and I see this, I'm just like, I'm out. I don't want to deal with it anymore, right? Like, I think that is the key thing, because you are investing in building this thing out, and it always takes a lot of time to build these things out. So if you're documenting and writing this stuff down, what you're seeing is the real world. So there's this this dreamt up world that everybody thinks about in research papers and articles and all that kind of stuff. It's dreamt up. It's an imaginary world. And of course, it's not going to meet the real world. It's not going to look like what you thought the real world should be. First of all, those people that dreamt it up, those articles that you read, they were thinking and imagining about something totally different than what you're thinking about. And then when you actually go and apply it in your situation, you have to interpret what they said. And your interpretation is probably wrong anyways. And then you have to apply it to your real world circumstance, and you're going to realize it's all different. So the second thing I want you to think about is that unusual results only happen if you do unusual things. So if you want the same old stuff, and you want to do all of what everybody else is doing, just keep doing the same stuff. And you're going to realize that if things are easy, you're already doing stuff that's already pretty the same. It's boring. Nobody wants to do that stuff anyways. We're past that. If it's difficult, maybe it's interesting because it's unusual. In those circumstances, people are going to laugh at you. So this week, I was actually asking somebody to do something. That's all I'm going to say. And it's unusual because people are not normally asked to do something, and they laughed. And that was it. Yes, it did rub my ego in the wrong way, and I'm still hurt because of it, but I'll get over it. And it's only because it's unusual that people will laugh or make fun of you. And that may be a good thing. I know it was a good thing in that circumstance. Now, the third thing, most people default to no. Why do we default to no? First of all, it's the easiest response. It requires very little of our ability to do anything if we say no, right? We're not going to consume any resources. Super easy. The other thing is that we're trained to often seek approval in various different ways. And we want this approval. And it's very deeply ingrained in our approval. So if it doesn't fit within this sort of approval scheme of things, good luck. Everybody's going to say no by default. And they're going to tell you like what you're doing is silly. So if that's the case, think about what they're saying, rechange what you're saying, and reapply it, right? It doesn't mean that you have to scrap everything. Just say, they said no. Okay, how do I use their feedback to reinforce what I am doing and build into that? That's the important thing. Now, the next two I think are the most critical and important, and they will change your life. They seriously will. Is number 4, learn to laugh. All of this is just kind of silliness at the end of the day. And if you realize that it's just whatever you want to call it, a people process, a political process, the norms, how things are done, whatever you want to call it, this is the way that life actually works. And if you imagine this kind of like, oh, everything's going to just work out in the way that it's supposed to, your life is going to be tough. And things are not going to work out the way it is. But if you imagine your life is a giant mess, you are a mess. I feel that I'm a nincompoop all of the time because I don't know anything. But you're going to just deal with it and get over yourself and get going and try something else out that is within the domain that you initially thought was an interesting idea. By the way, you wouldn't have thought it was an interesting idea if it wasn't interesting. It probably actually was the right thing for you to do. Now, the last thing, number 5, just get back up and repeat every day. That's what it is. It's repeat. Listen to what people are saying. Don't listen. Watch what they say and they do. Don't necessarily listen to what they are actually saying, right? So if they're recoiling, think about how you can change that so they don't recoil. If they are looking at you and saying, well, that's going to be really tough. Well, listen to what they're saying and figure out how you can make it a little bit more easier for yourself. It's about listening, writing down, improving on what people have said, and actually really responding those things deeply, rather than just simply saying, I'm going to give up on that thing and go try to find something else. That's not how life works. It always takes an enormous amount of work that you never thought it was going to work, how difficult it was going to be, and you just keep stepping forward one little day at a time. Now, the last thing I wanted to point out, the last thing I wanted to say is that repetition and getting back up and doing the game is the name of the story. It is what you do. And if you cannot figure out how to make fun of it and laugh at all of the sort of silliness that you have to go through and all of that stuff, good luck. It's going to be a tough journey because this is what you signed up for. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.